Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Crusher. I'm your host, Josh Brewster, and today I am very happy to meet a new friend, Daniella Bloom. She's a psychotherapist and also a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and she is known to me because of her work with JEXIT, which, of course, is the movement Jews exiting the Democratic Party. But she brings a lot to the table. And recently, a good friend of mine, he hears me ranting all the time, and he said, you need to check out Daniella Bloom, and you sound a lot like her. So I am here. I am happy to welcome an ally from what I know of her. I watched a speech she recently gave to Charlie Kirk's Turning Point group, and I am very happy to welcome Daniella Bloom here today. How you doing, Danielle?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And look, well, the word I just used is Jexit, and I guess we'll get to that let's get to that in a minute. But the first thing at hand here is what's happening in our streets and in our universities. And I'm talking, of course, about uh, college students aligning themselves with Hamas, people in the streets protesting in favor of Hamas, and the the basic success of the long march of the left, the hard left through the institutions, has borne fruit. A lot of people are shocked. I'm not shocked, Daniela, but a lot of people are shocked. It does become shocking when you hear young people yelling, "Kill the Jews." That's certainly interesting. Our universities have been mostly tepid in their responses to this, but I will let you opine. What do you think about what's going on our streets and in our universities right now?
Yeah, as a mother in Los Angeles, I never thought in my lifetime that I'd have to get into an argument with my mom, who is telling me that she insists that I take my mezuzah down and that I not wear any sort of Israeli flags on my shirt or put a Jewish star in my car. We're in 2023, and these are the conversations we're having today, because unfortunately we're forced to have them. Just in my community alone, there were several anti-Semitic incidences in homes. There was a gentleman, um, Paul Kessler, who actually was murdered, and they finally did make an arrest today, although the last line of the article said, "We haven't ruled out hate crime." Never mind that he was standing with an Israeli flag, and the man he arrested was a Muslim professor who smashed him with a megaphone. Guess there's not enough evidence that it's a
Well,
hate crime.
Well, yeah, let me interrupt you there. If it was any other minority,
Yeah,
the first item would have been this is a hate crime.
for sure. The
And
double
by the way,
standards. Yeah,
I won't be taking off my high on. I won't be taking off my
yeah,
high. I
yeah.
won't be taking down any Israeli flags or anything or any of this. But go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's the double standards are insane. And we continue to see them, that when it comes to Jews and Jewish hate crime, even the word anti-Semitic has been hijacked, because now everyone, I guess, is Semitic. So we have to just call it what it is the rise of Jew hate crimes. The other word that has been weaponized to hide a lot of anti-Semitism is, I don't have a problem with Jews, I just have a problem with Zionists. So
Yeah,
sorry, guys, most all Jews today believe in Israel's right to exist. So we are
yeah.
really all mostly Zionists. So
Well, not only that, but I've always told people, first of all, the hard left and the radical Islamist world has poisoned the word Zionist. I remember when I was 9 years old, and there was the movement at the UN. The UN declared Zionism racism. I've asked many people on the left over the years, when they bring this up, this nonsense, this nonsensical distinction. Uh, do you believe the state of Israel has the right to exist? And they usually say, "Of course I do." And I said, "Well, then you're a Zionist. That's all. That's all there is to it. If you
yeah.
either think the Jews have a right to be there or they don't, that's all Zionism is. It doesn't extend any further than that."
Well, but they have redefined it to mean colonizer.
Yeah.
So that's part of the propaganda. That's part of the rebranding of the oppressed and the oppressor.
Well, then you're talking about, look, then we're talking about a neo-Marxist point of view. And that's clear. If you're going to talk about oppressors and oppressed, which is what they have succeeded in achieving, then you're talking about that. And I think that on that note, let's talk a little bit about that vis-a-vis Jews exiting the Democratic Party. And I'll put it to you this way. You have an interesting way of looking at things. I read a quote from you. There are really two main parties today, the awake and the woke. And it mirrors something I've been saying to everyone I come in contact with. It's probably pretty annoying, is we have to draw a line between liberal and leftist. And people do not understand the leftist virus that has taken over the Democratic Party. And I would go a step further as saying that we have the main split in this country is not necessarily Republican and Democratic. It's Americanism versus leftism. I truly believe that, in especially where we're living in Los Angeles, mainstream Democrats in Los Angeles are considered right-wing kooks. JFK Democrats are right-wing kooks. And I look at a guy like
Joe Rogan. Yep.
Yeah, I look at a guy like Bill Maher as maybe he's the last liberal because he's the only liberal who gets up and says Zionism isn't a dirty word. Western civilization isn't a dirty word. So, but to me, that's the distinction: leftism versus liberalism. But you please take it from there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's true. It's like our country has been hijacked by a bunch of far left babies that the country is kowtowing towards. And it really, as a psychotherapist, I look for parallels between our current relationships and our nation and our world at large. And there's so much parallel, it's all your fault. If only you would change. And there is a dysfunctional dance between an enabler, and a people pleaser and a narcissist. And we've seen a lot of enabling, to the narcissist of the woke, I don't want, I'm offended. I want to have a safe space. I'm triggered. And things can start out sounding pretty great and pretty liberal and pretty American, equality, freedom, inclusivity. But there are much sinister agendas underneath it. And before you know it, it's like that expression where you can't put a frog in hot water, but you can put the frog in water and heat it up, and frog will still not leave, even if it's boiling. And I think we've reached several boiling points, and we're seeing that translate in the corporate world and Disney, where wokeism is just going too far. I mean, we've raised now a generation who's completely anti-American, and you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. I saw a TikTok about, they were saying that, like, if we go into World War III, a lot of the youth would be drafted. Could you imagine this generation drafted?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
laughable.
And I know. Yeah. No, I know. Listen. On that note, let's talk about Jews exiting the Democratic Party, because this is something that concerns me. We're 22 years after 9/11. We are a month or so since a massacre, which, by the way, people forget very quickly. And by the way, I suggest to the Israeli government, put the videos out for everybody to see, not just a bunch of.
I have people sending, I have people from the Palestinian side say, please send me the videos, because a lot of them now are saying, oh, it's AI, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's AI. Yeah,
Biden said he never saw it, so they've just, it is infuriating and such gaslighting. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Yes, 40 babies were killed. I'm so sorry. You're right. They might not have all been beheaded,
Right.
But I do think, unfortunately, we are in the times where people need to see things with their own eyes. And I know.
But wait a second, Daniela. Wait a second. Even when they do these autopsies and these things are proven to be true, and it's reported that these things are proven to be true,
yeah,
they still don't want to. We're beyond truth, or so. I mean,
yeah.
I think, were we better off when we had 3 television channels? Because everybody believes whatever narrow thing they've decided to believe now.
For sure. We have so many cooks in the kitchen. We have social media. We have a lot of mistrust of our institutions and our media. And now we have AI. So I think the combination of that has put a lot of mistrust into everything. I mean, I was watching a soldier like giving a tour of the El Shifa hospital saying these are the weapons that were found and this is evidence of the tunnels. And then you can hear a Palestinian say, well, that's all props. That was planted.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
there's no
Look,
baseline anymore. There's no baseline.
no, there's no. This now. You're a psychotherapist. You can probably talk about this for hours. But I want to come back. Let's come back to our fellow tribesmen here.
Yeah.
I read a book years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Norman Podhoretz, who of course was a unicorn, he was one of the only Jewish conservatives around. He created Commentary magazine, and was very popular with Jews, even though it was conservative leaning. It was very popular, but this was a time when people were more reasonable. He wrote a book, I don't know if you've ever come across it, called Why Are Jews Liberals? And amidst all this evidence, it still baffles the mind. It boggles the mind. There's the old joke. I can't remember who told. I have it here somewhere. It's Jews earn like Episcopalians and vote like Puerto Ricans. That's the old joke. Now here's the thing. I try to convince my fellow Jews that the party, the JFK party, that party is gone. I would even argue that the Bill Clinton 1992 party is gone. And the Republican Party of James Baker and I don't know, whoever from 50 years ago is gone. Who is your real friend now? Who is your real friend? Has Gavin Newsom, has he repudiated everything that the squad has said? Have our fellow Jews even noticed that all the leading anti-Semites are in the Democratic Party? The most vocal anti-Semites and anti-Israel people are in the Democratic Party. So give me your thoughts on JEXIT. I don't know if the Jewish people will wake up in this country. I do know that I meet a lot of Israelis who come to this country and tell me that they don't think that American Jews get it. Your thoughts?
So there's a conundrum. There's a problem with Jewish liberals that they are facing. When the events that started in October 7th happened, a lot of them, especially on the left, Noah Tishby, Mayim Bialik, came out and said, I don't understand the silence. I don't understand. I marched with BLM. I marched with LGBT.
Yep.
Where are my friends? Where are my friends standing up for this brutality and intolerance of what's happening to my people? And that many of us conservatives have been seeing this for years. I mean, it was no secret that BLM was always anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian and all of that and against institution. This is the problem, though, because a lot of people today would say, my eyes are awake. I stand with Israel. It is not okay what's happening. Rashida Tlaib has to go. However, the mainstream media has done such a good job of vilifying anybody who supports Trump as racist, as domestic terrorists, that even if it's true, even if the Democrat Party has been hijacked, it's clearly imbalanced, it's doing the bidding of a progressive agenda, which is very anti-Israel, it's socialist, it's anti-America. They cannot reconcile voting for a man who said, grab them by the pee. This is the hill that they die on.
Well, you've got a point. Now, look, Trump's personality, it sucks, but he's right about a few things, and I'll name them. He was right about the border. Okay. He was right about energy policy. He was right about Israel. I can name a couple other things. Trump's position, and he is right, and every Jew in America should accept this. The Palestinian centrality theory, as Bibi Netanyahu puts it, is absolutely backwards. The idea that we cannot solve anything in the Middle East without solving the Palestinian issue is ridiculous. And Trump told the Palestinians, as long as you don't accept Israel's right to exist, we don't have anything to talk about. He was right. Biden is wrong. Obama was wrong. All of them have been wrong. Trump was right because he says, I'm going to strike peace deals with these 4 Arab countries, Morocco, Arab Emirates, etc. And by the way, we're headed to one with Saudi Arabia, because what I want to do, and Trump is right, is isolate the radical Islamist virus in Iran and in Yemen and in the Palestinian territories, etc. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the Arabs who are willing to just acknowledge that the Jews have a right to their little sliver of land, and I'm going to isolate the virus, and we'll deal with the virus later. He had it right.
Of course he did.
So,
We would never be in
sorry.
this mess if he was still in charge.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry. He's right.
Yeah, but again, when you're talking to people who have been brainwashed to just literally, they still have Trump deranged syndrome. The cognitive dissonance is so grand that to give Trump the credit that he deserves would mean, a shaking of their foundation. Because if he was right about this, what else has he been right about? Which means, what have I been wrong about? And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
People are not willing to pull back the lens. Actually, there are some great people who are doing podcasts. I forgot the guy's name, but the one who does All in Pod, he has a great panel of former liberals who are like, you know what, Trump had it right, and they started to say, you know what, I was wrong. I mischaracterized him. I didn't see the forest for the trees. But in general, a lot of people want to save face. They are. It's hard for them to say anything positive about Trump's accomplishments. It's funny how, I talk to some, I listen to some, I don't understand who in this earth still supports Biden, but there are some. And I ask them why. And they would say things like, he's just nicer. He's more of a grandpa. And that, I like that better. And they are so misguided by an old man who could properly who reads lines that is given to him. They are so guided by personality over policy. It should be the reverse. And the reason why we had 4 years of peace with Trump was because Trump, he came from the outside. He wrote the book The Art of the Deal. He understood solutions from a business perspective, from a capitalist perspective, from a leadership perspective. Peace through strength, war through weakness. Since we've had Biden, the disaster of Afghanistan, the disaster of the wall, the disaster of our energy dependence, the disaster of our inflation, the fentanyl crisis. But I guess it doesn't matter because he speaks more calmly and more nicely. So I guess that counts more.
Yeah, and it's very hard for people to overcome their team mentality. I'm a Democrat. I always vote for Democrat. And I just don't know what it takes to shake people out of that. And I'm going to be blunt. Burning babies, raping their mothers, killing their mothers, beheading their fathers, dragging the bodies through Gaza. If 9/11 didn't wake you up, then will this wake you up? Let's zero in for a minute on this topic. I believe that the Western man and woman, they want to equivocate. They want to rationalize. The Western man and woman cannot conceive of what radical Islam wants, even when radical Islam tells you what it wants. The Muslim Brotherhood, people laugh if I bring up the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood had said since 1928, Hassan al-Banna, they've said they want a caliphate all over the world. They're willing to wait hundreds of years for it. The Western man, tut, to everything. The Western man blames himself for 9/11. The Western man and woman, they don't get what it means when someone sets infants on fire. They don't get why Hamas uses human shields. They want to maximize Palestinian death.
Yeah.
They can't get this.
It's evil wrapped in a nice sounding sandwich. The latest thing is Osama bin Laden's letter to America is now
Right,
going viral, and it's all
right.
over
And
TikTok.
the kids are
Yeah.
impressed with
All the
this. Yeah,
kids are like,
yeah,
wow,
great.
he
That's
had
great.
some points, you know? So, I told Dennis Prager this analogy and he loved it. I said, Dennis, I feel like America is like this large, beautiful sequoia tree, majestic tree that has weathered all storms, largest trees in the world, admirable, strong. But what can make a sequoia fall? Tiny, tiny termites from within that start to eat at the foundation. Tiny termites this size. And that is what's happening to America. It's not any outside forces. It's the poison from within of anti-America. I don't think anything will unite us. 9/11 united us. I don't even think a terrorist attack today would unite us. I think you'd have shirts that says "Dictators' lives matter." I think
Yeah, or
we
it's our fault. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
or understand their pain.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a line. Let me tell you, there's a line in the book "Terror and Liberalism" by Paul
Mhm.
Berman that came out in 2003. It was after 9/11, and he talks about the. You just have to pardon my French. He talks about the bullshit that Noam Chomsky represents,
Mhm.
and they have drilled that crap into our kids' heads. Oh, it's American corporate this, and it's American foreign policy that.
Toxic
Blah,
masculine.
blah, 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 blah. They're telling you. He goes, by the way, Chomsky went to visit Hezbollah in 2006, right before they attacked Israel. And the radical Islamists, they put it on a piece of paper. They go, we want a caliphate. And
Mhm.
they guess what we want? They have a constitution that says we want to kill all the Jews.
It says in the Hamas charter. I mean, it's not
Okay.
hidden.
Okay, so now you give me. Now we're going to play a game. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to score it home. And next November, I'm going to call you. Here it is. Daniella says, and Josh says, here are predictions.
Mhm.
If let's take the number 80% of Jews voted for the Democratic Party last time. Let's take that number.
Okay.
What percentage of the Jews vote against the Democrats in 24?
Well, I think RFK has also been a game changer.
Let's throw them
Yeah.
all in there. Who votes against the Democratic Party in 24? How many? I'm going to throw out a number. I'll say the Jewish number goes up to 10%. I'll say 70% of Jews, even after these massacres, lie to themselves and vote for people who hate us. To me, that's in
Well,
the
I hope
Democratic
it's
Party.
not that
What's your
high.
number? What's your
I
number?
hope I
What's
hope
your number?
I hope I hope it goes
Give
down
me a
to
number.
50. 50.
You're going 50?
Yeah, because there's a
If,
lot of
if, the,
pro-Israel Democrats. Yeah.
if the Jewish vote goes to only 50% Democrat,
Yeah.
I'm taking you out to dinner.
Yeah.
It's 50% for
Listen,
Danielle. All
because
right.
I'm not talking about the youth. I'm talking about the older generations.
Yeah. They'll come
Like
out.
yeah, and they'll come out. The Democrats,
All
the
right.
older generation Democrats will come out.
All right. I got it right here. I got the numbers right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So we'll talk. We'll talk in November. All right. Well, look, Daniela, if I can't let you go without talking a little bit about your work as a, if I get you straight, as a family therapist, as a marriage counselor, singles counselor, relationships counselor. Am I
Yeah.
correct about this? Okay. So tell me, I'll share this with the general public because you might have to put me under observation. Like you might have to have a team of psychotherapists. I'm actually happy to report this, but my wife and I, we divorced in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
We reconciled in 2019. How
Wow.
many people come to your practice who have actually reconciled?
It's beautiful.
How many do you get?
Well, I haven't the niche that I do, I work a lot with singles and
Okay,
couples who are on the brink of going left or right.
right.
And I think it's a beautiful thing when you can reconcile it because the relationship that you have now, the second time around, is far, far deeper. And I'm one of those therapists who says, things like infidelity don't have to be deal breakers. Sometimes both partners need to have wake up calls because that old marriage is not working. It's the death of that way of connection because we marry our unfinished business. And it's going to come out now or it's going to come out later, but it's going to come out. And you can choose to let that break you or make you stronger because your partner is going to trigger you, but they can also help you heal. And I think a lot of couples today don't have the tools and don't have the certain mentality that our parents did to navigate the storms when they get rocky. I think it's very easy to say it's not working. It's all your fault. I deserve to be happy because that's the mentality of everybody else. I mean, being divorced today is not a stigma at all. But I also think because, in the past, my parents are, together 50 years. And I don't know if their marriage would survive in today's world because I think they would have so many people in their ears. And when the going got tough and they were facing a challenge and they came from different cultures, my dad's Israeli, my mom's American, they would just empower the person suffering and say, you don't need to take this, That's why I'm very much an old school psychotherapist. But the truth is, it is not easy to be married to the same person. The Talmud compares it to the miracle comparable to the parting of the Red Sea. But if you can see the overall picture, like I'm mad at you, you're mad at me, I'm hurt, but we love each other, we're on the same team, and you keep adjusting to what comes to you. When you have curveballs with children and health and jobs, you got to navigate that. So your relationship when you first started out might have completely different needs and wants than 10 years from now and then 10 years from now. So you have to adjust. You cannot have the same expectations when you first met.
Yep.
So the couples that last today are the couples who can be flexible, who can have grace. And that's not easy to do in a me generation.
Indeed. And I'll tell you, just public service announcement. In my case, it wasn't even a matter of infidelity on either side. But the happy ending or the happy continuance is that we treat each other now better than we ever did.
Exactly.
But it was still kind of stunning to me that ever happened. Okay. Yeah. DanielaBloom.com. You need to go there immediately and be on the lookout for Daniella in any number of places as a keynote speaker or in whatever media she's doing.
I do have a book coming out.
And she does have. Please. You have a children's book you should talk about real quick, and then tell me about your book coming up.
Yes, I have a children's series called Under the Tree, and it's for it's a children's series, but it's meant to be read with adults, as each of its books embodies a universal life lesson, a Judeo-Christian life lesson that we all need to be reminded of. And they're multi-award winning, they're best-selling. But my new book, I think, is probably my greatest work contributing to this world. It's called The World Where I Belong. And it's about a boy who's disenchanted with his current world. He just is annoyed by everyone and everything, and he wants to find a better world. And so that his magical tree takes him on this metaphoric adventure. And he first thinks he wants to be left alone with no responsibility. So he has some great fun in the land of me. And it's great until it's not, because there's no checks and balances. There's no privacy. There's so much noise. Everyone's stealing his stuff. And so he goes back to Tree and he says, I need something different. Tree's like, well, what do you think you need? He's like, I just want peace and quiet. I want predictability. I want to be left alone. So where does Tree take him? To the land of we, right? Enter communism. Everything's great. He knows when he's going to eat, when he's going to sleep. He's contributing. He's productive. But then he wants to individualize. He wants to draw a picture. He might want to complain about his bosses. That's a no-no. So, he decides that that's not the right world for him either. So where do we end up? It took me 8 years to figure out the ending. In fact, when I wrote this book, I was still a liberal. I voted for Obama twice. But once I became a conservative, the ending hit me like a lightning bolt. So he went from the land of me to the land of wheat. And the tree said, well, where? He said, tree, just take me where I belong. Where does tree take him? He takes him back to his own world, but he tells him the real name of his world, and it's called Land of Free. Because Land of Free is the best of the land of me and we. It's personal responsibility with guidelines and parameters. And when you have your free choice to keep mastering your own direction, which benefits you and the loved ones around you, that is freedom. And it's a fable. It's beautiful. It's written so engagingly. And there's a whole discussion section after and workbook. And, you know, it's like a love letter to America and what our country has been founded on.
There she is, Daniella Bloom. Daniella, thank you for joining me today.
Yes.
We'll be on the lookout for, when will that book be released?
Probably,
or is it out?
hopefully in time for the holidays.
Okay.
But just shoot me an email if you guys want to get a pre-order.
DanielaBloom.com. Go there. And Daniella, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, friend. Thank him too for watching.
All right. Yeah, I will. Very good. Thank you, Daniella.
Bye.